Yo, what is up guys, it's Pedro here, and in today's video we'll be talking about Jacory Corskey Merritt and how he was the fastest player at the Washington Commanders OTAs this past week. If you guys are new, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button and that notification bell as well. So let's get right into it. Also, might be on IR for a few weeks, end of June, July, so I'll keep you guys updated on that, but might be a little bit while where I don't post any videos, or might have to pre-record some videos. We'll figure it out, but just good thoughts and prayers would be appreciated. All right, let's get back into it. So, Jacory Corskey Merritt, Washington Commanders 7th round pick this past year, but honestly should have been picked earlier. He got penalized for having to sit out a year. It is what it is, but Jacory Corskey Merritt has been impressing so far, and John Kime was saying he was the fastest guy out there on Tuesday. I believe he's talking about just players in general, but might have meant more running backs. But besides, it could have been players in general from what he could see. Obviously, some of these positions they're not running full speed, and they're not running straight line speed type of stuff. So with Jacory was more visible, but he's a quicker guy than the other running backs on the team: Brian Robinson, Jeremy McNichols, Chris Rodriguez, and Austin Eckler. He is quick. That's not his number one strength, but it is one of them. So he is quick, and it's good to see that he's been impressing during OTAs, and hopefully it continues during mini camp, which is mandatory, and then going into training camp, stuff like that. Hopefully it all goes well, and he's able to get better and better and better, and maybe he'll have a good season for us. Again, I've liked to mention it, but running backs, they can develop and start balling right away. First round guys, sure. Second, there's a bunch of second round guys, third round guys, and then day 3 guys. Isaiah Pacheco, James Robinson, Philip Lindsay, Bucky Irving. Someone mentioned it a couple of videos ago, but he was a 4th round pick. He balled out in his rookie year. There's guys that are not first, second, third round guys that ball out every single year at the running back position. So maybe the Commanders found that guy, maybe they didn't, but it's I like that they took that shot on Jacory Corskey Merritt, a guy that was already going into the draft projected like a 5th-ish round pick, maybe 6th. So you're getting good value, but also I think you're getting even better value due to the fact that he wasn't, it's not like he had an injury or character issues and that's why he fell. No, he just missed a full season. So teams would have liked to see more tape. I don't know, but I think he put on a lot of good tape out there, and I think the Commanders got really good value. Like if he would have came out last year or this year he played and had a good season, he probably would have been like a 4th round, 3rd round pick, which is probably a 4th round pick. I think that's pretty reasonable to say. Here's him in OTAs, or no, not OTAs, mini camp about a month ago. Do some pass pro, and you see him do it there, and then run a little bit of a semi check down there. So good to see him getting some work in, and he's looked good, which is great. I also do want to talk about some of the other players and stuff, news during Commanders OTA. So we just talked about Jacory Corskey Merritt. Daron Payne's been the talk of the town, not just by Joe Witt, but by Dan Quinn. Those guys have been just raving about him, so that's cool. He asked, Ben Standig, shout out to him, asked Joe Witt which players should out this offseason, and Ben Standig said Daron Payne. So shout out to Daron Payne there. Said he's been really pleased with his work and approach. Notes Payne leads by example and is establishing a strong one. And I can pull up some more tweets just from things that people have said about Daron Payne. Zach Selby talked about him. Let's see. Daron Payne talked about, he says, I know they used to single us out because they think they get an easy win. Now they want to beat us, so it's been, fun. So talked about that. Dan Quinn said that once that fire is lit, you got to hit it. He looks excellent. So that's really good to hear from more than just one person. And yeah, we do need a big year out of Daron Payne. I mean, Daron Payne, after he got paid, I'm not saying he's played awful, but the year after the contract was decent, okay. still not living up to what you wanted. And the last year was not good. It was not good. He was not playing at the level you want in a guy you're going to be, you're paying $20+ million a year now. So he's got to play better. And, that starts with in the off season and, learning from what you didn't do well last year, getting in the lab, working out, doing some work with your teammates and watching film, all that stuff he knows. And, it starts with, playing well in, or doing everything well in the off season. And then hopefully from there, his run defense was fine last year. He wasn't the issue on the defensive line in terms of run defense. Maybe he could have played a little bit better, but he wasn't the issue. But in terms of pass rush, he was adding nothing of value as a pass rusher, or very little, for what they're paying him. Yeah, very little. So want to see more from Daron Payne as a pass rusher this year. So that's definitely something to watch out for. This off season and preseason, he's not. If he plays, he'll play a half, a quarter. He's not going to play much. Daron Payne doesn't need the preseason. He doesn't. He needs these off-season workouts, getting into everything. But the joint practices, which I guess that's a good segue into that. But joint practice is a good way for these players to get the reps they need in, and the Commanders will be having 2 joint practices at least, but I believe it's just 2, like they did last year, which I think helped them. But they will be practicing against the New England Patriots with Mike Vrabel, and then also with the Baltimore Ravens with John Harbaugh. So I think those are 2 good teams to practice against. Young quarterback in Drake May, but they got some pieces there. I think we're, decent amount better than them, but, they got some pieces there, and it's good to work against, any team in general. And then you got the Ravens. That's a great test, a very solid, very good football team, good quarterback, good defense. They got Derrick Henry. They got, pieces on their offense, DeAndre Hopkins now, so Zay Flowers, and then who they just re-signed, Rashad Bateman. So they got players there. And I think that'll be a good test for the Commanders. I know last time they did a joint practice against them, which I believe was 2023. That didn't go well. At least, there was a huge brawl, and then I think Danny Johnson dislocated his shoulder or something, was out for a couple weeks, which you don't want to have, because Mark Andrews slammed him on the ground. So it is what it is, and Emmanuel Ford's getting cooked a little bit, getting frustrated, getting into fights. But again, all that stuff, joint practices are good. You just want to limit the fights and stuff, and injuries, knock on wood, and hopefully it goes well. But those are kind of the main takeaways. Talk about Jacory. Daron Payne's balling out. Trey Amos is looking good. Mike Sanders still looking good. Those were the main takeaways from that. I'm pretty sure Jacory Brooks, undrafted wide receiver out of Louisville, had a touchdown the other day. I know Jalen Lane did a couple weeks ago. So cool stuff there. But gonna wrap it up. Hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe if you guys new, and peace.